Welcome to Chapter 8 of our Biodiversity course, brought to you by Smart Agri Hub. Today, we're diving deep into an essential topic: global and local biodiversity policies. Understanding how policies shape conservation efforts is key to appreciating the intricate relationship between decision makers, communities, and the natural world. Whether you're a student, professional, or enthusiast, this chapter will provide valuable insights into the mechanisms driving biodiversity protection. So let's get started. Biodiversity, the variety of life on Earth, faces unprecedented challenges. Habitat loss, climate change, pollution, and overexploitation threaten the delicate balance of ecosystems worldwide. To address these challenges, policies at both global and local levels have emerged, each with unique strategies, goals, and impacts. But why are these policies so important? Simply put, they provide the framework that guides conservation actions, encourages sustainable development, and fosters international cooperation. They turn our collective recognition of biodiversity's value into tangible commitments. Let's begin on a global scale. International biodiversity policies are often shaped by conventions, treaties, and agreements that bring together nations to tackle shared environmental concerns. The most prominent of these is the Convention on Biological Diversity, or CBD. Established at the 1992 Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, the CBD is a legally binding treaty with three main objectives: conserving biodiversity, using it sustainably, and ensuring fair and equitable sharing of benefits derived from genetic resources. Signatory countries to the CBD commit to developing national strategies and action plans, known as National Biodiversity Strategies and Action Plans, or NBSAPs. These plans outline how each country intends to meet the CBD's objectives. Additionally, the CBD has given rise to landmark global targets, such as the HE Biodiversity Targets, which set ambitious conservation goals for the decade leading up to 2020. Although not all targets were fully achieved, they galvanized action across governments, organizations, and communities. Building on the CBD's foundation, the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework was adopted in 2022. This new framework sets out 4 overarching goals and 23 action-oriented targets for 2030, aiming to halt biodiversity loss and restore ecosystems. The framework calls for protecting at least 30% of the world's land and sea, reducing pollution, and mobilizing resources for conservation, with explicit recognition of the role of indigenous peoples and local communities. Besides the CBD, other international agreements play crucial roles. The Ramsar Convention focuses on wetlands, promoting wise use and conservation of these vital habitats. The Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, or CITES, regulates the international trade of threatened species, preventing their exploitation. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Paris Agreement, while primarily climate-focused, also recognize the interplay between climate and biodiversity, encouraging nature-based solutions. Global policies set the stage, but real action often happens at regional, national, and local levels. Regional agreements, such as the European Union's Biodiversity Strategy for 2030, exemplify how groups of countries can unite for conservation. The EU strategy aims to restore degraded ecosystems, expand protected areas, and integrate biodiversity concerns into agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. It's closely linked to the European Green Deal, which seeks a climate-neutral and environmentally resilient future. National governments implement global commitments through laws, regulations, and programs tailored to local contexts. For example, many countries have established networks of protected areas, such as national parks, reserves, and wildlife sanctuaries. These sites safeguard habitats and species while providing opportunities for research, education, and ecotourism. Environmental impact assessments are another common policy tool, requiring developers to consider biodiversity before approving new projects. Let's explore some innovative national and local policies. Payment for Ecosystem Services, or PES, is a mechanism where landowners receive financial incentives for managing their land in ways that benefit biodiversity. In Costa Rica, PES programs have contributed to significant forest recovery, balancing conservation with rural livelihoods. Community-based conservation is another powerful approach. By involving local stakeholders in decision-making, these initiatives foster stewardship, respect traditional knowledge, and address site-specific challenges. At the local level, municipalities and communities often develop their own biodiversity action plans. These can include restoring urban green spaces, supporting pollinator-friendly gardens, or organizing citizen science projects. Local policies are vital because they respond to immediate needs and harness local expertise. They also provide opportunities for public participation, education, and building a culture of conservation from the ground up. But policies don't operate in isolation. Collaboration is essential. Governments, NGOs, businesses, and citizens must work together, sharing knowledge, resources, and responsibilities. Public-private partnerships have been instrumental in scaling up conservation. For example, agricultural companies are increasingly adopting biodiversity-friendly practices, such as integrated pest management, crop rotation, and agroforestry. Smart Agri Hub is at the forefront of these efforts, harnessing technology and innovation to promote sustainable agriculture while protecting biodiversity. Digital solutions have revolutionized policy implementation. Satellite monitoring, remote sensing, and artificial intelligence allow for real-time tracking of land use, habitat changes, and species movements. These tools support evidence-based decision-making, ensuring policies are adaptive and effective. Open data platforms encourage transparency and inclusivity, enabling stakeholders to engage with biodiversity information and contribute to policy discussions. Despite progress, challenges remain. Policy gaps, insufficient funding, lack of enforcement, and competing land uses can undermine conservation goals. Balancing development and biodiversity is complex, especially in regions facing poverty, conflict, or population pressures. Yet, success stories abound. In Kenya, community conservancies have increased wildlife populations and generated income through tourism. In India, the integration of biodiversity into rural development projects has improved food security and ecosystem resilience. Education and awareness are critical. Policies can only succeed if people understand their importance and actively participate. Schools, universities, and media play vital roles in shaping attitudes and behaviors. Youth engagement is particularly powerful. Young leaders are advocating for stronger biodiversity action, mobilizing communities, and influencing policy at every level. Looking ahead, the future of biodiversity policies hinges on innovation, inclusion, and commitment. Adaptive management, which adjusts strategies in response to new information, is fundamental. Integrating biodiversity into all sectors, agriculture, health, infrastructure, and finance, will maximize impact. Strengthening the rights and roles of Indigenous peoples and local communities is essential, recognizing their stewardship of many of the world's most biodiverse regions. You might be wondering, what can I do? Everyone has a role to play. Stay informed about biodiversity policies in your country and community. Support organizations working on conservation. Advocate for stronger laws and better implementation. Make biodiversity-friendly choices in your daily life, from the food you eat to the products you buy. In summary, global and local biodiversity policies are the backbone of conservation efforts. They reflect our collective values and aspirations, translating knowledge into action. By understanding these policies, supporting their implementation, and participating actively, we can contribute to a future where biodiversity thrives for generations to come. Thank you for joining Smart Agri Hub in this deep dive into global and local biodiversity policies. Stay curious, stay engaged, and remember, every action counts in the quest to protect our planet's incredible diversity of life. See you in the next chapter, Chapter 9, titled Biodiversity and Human Well-Being.